All right, so welcome. Today is going to be a special day because I've been getting a lot of questions about real estate. I'm not the expert in New Brunswick real estate, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to have a little conversation with my best friend from Calgary, Mike Espiritu. He's a real estate agent with Keller Williams. He's killing it right now in this market. So we're going to have a little chit chat and then maybe you guys can actually learn about something. Here we go. So, like I said, I am here with Mike. He's, like I said, my best friend from Calgary, who is now an amazing real estate agent who's killing it in the Moncton area. So, I want to talk real estate with you because we have had a lot of questions on the channel and in the group on Facebook, New Beginnings. Why are houses selling for a lot more than past years?
Well, I mean, I think that it's pretty obvious with this pandemic going on, the ability to set up your VPN at home, everybody to work from home. It's a very attractive, way to still do the job that you're doing, but not have to live in the big metropolitan cities like Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, all those different types of things, right? So Atlantic Canada is proving itself to be a very desirable area because we used to have, such low housing costs and still relatively low considering everything else in the country, right?
Okay. So will this market ever go down or will it keep going up?
Well, what goes up must come down. I mean, my opinion is obviously very subjective. I'm not an economist. But we have seen, even growing up in Calgary, what you've seen in Ontario, what we saw in BC, housing market used to start one place. And then all of a sudden, because of foreign investors, everybody else coming in, just a surge and the migration to some of these areas, the housing just keeps going up and up and up. Does it take a crash? Does it take a dip? Absolutely. It can't just continue to keep going up. I think it more stabilizes than really crashes. And then you and I have had conversations before. We had conversations a lot about this. 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when the average property maybe would have been $150,000, $160,000 for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1.5. You'll never see those prices ever again. You'll never see them. It's impossible for it to be that way. Those are kind of the days in the past, and that's just what we have to. That's how us realtors just have to be real with our clients and educate them properly, right? With my clients, I just give them, the truth and in my history and what I used to see working at the bank, for many, many years, as well as what's happened in Calgary, right? The prices of the past will not really come back again. They will just adjust, right? So to your question, Mark, about will the prices ever go down? I think the market will adjust itself. Right, okay. Maybe take a little bit of a dip, but you take a look. I make that joke all the time. You go to make an appointment in a bank, and then right behind the bank you'll have that really, really big frame with all these little squiggly lines that show the inflation ever since 1950, through the Great Depression, through the oil crash, everything else like that. And at the very end, still at our current level, we're still so much higher than we were in 1950. So everything will progressively go up with a couple of dips.
And that's. Well, that's inflation, is it not?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of banks, why do buyers need a pre-approval before they even start looking for a house?
Man, pre-approvals are so important these days, especially in this typical market. And the reason why is you'll see signs driving by, sold over asking, sold in less than a week. You see a lot of things on social media, sold in 2 days, sold in, you know what I mean? And the reality is that when you go to put an offer in on a property, you have to be able to put an offer in on the property. I always say ready, willing, and able, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go house hunting? You know what I mean? Are you willing to put an offer in if you find the house? Lastly, the biggest, most important part is, are you able to? And once you have a property come up fresh on the market, 0 days on market, right? The house is already booked for showings. And then the realtor will put on there that, I'm going to hold all offers until this day, which is only 3 days, sometimes even 2 days. All offers will be presented. That doesn't give you enough time to get a pre-approval. Banks are overloaded with everything, so you want to make sure that you have that you bring all your tools to the job site.
You come with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Now you have to come prepared because it's the market that really adds the pressure, right?
Yeah.
To it, and you have to be willing to put an offer in, and you have to know what your budget is, right? There's no more going around and going to see a house. Okay, I'm gonna give it a week and a half because it's a big purchase, right? It's a big investment. But if you find something and you need to put an offer on it, you don't got much time, and you need to have your pre-approval ready.
See, that's interesting because one of my friends, she sent me a private message, and there was a property that's about 2 minutes away from my lounge.
Right.
And that went up for sale. The starting price was $179. So a friend of mine who actually looked at it was like, "Oh my God, your neighbors are selling." So I got in contact with my neighbor a day and a half, 2 days, and she's like, "We sold it. We have an accepted offer already, and it sold for, I believe, 30,000 over asking."
Sure.
So, which is absolutely crazy. The house is beautiful, but I just didn't expect it to go that fast. But apparently, on the first day, they got 8 offers, which is
for sure,
which is nuts.
Absolutely.
So,
right. Not something that Atlantic Canada is very used to.
I see that from the comments online. Yeah.
Exactly. The people that have been here, I mean, obviously we're relatively new here. I'm 3.5 years here. You're 2 years and some.
Yeah.
It's changed so much in 3.5 years. The house that I bought, in Dieppe was on the market for 196 days or something like that, and that doesn't happen now.
No,
not one bit.
Even my house, before we purchased it, the previous owner, she put it up for sale a year before, and there was no bites.
Right.
And then when we made it, when we came here, and then we made an offer.
Right.
We were up against one person.
Right.
And our realtor decided or convinced the previous owner, no, go with these guys. They're cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So in terms of now we're on the topic of multiple bidding offers.
Right.
So tell me more about this, and are there bidding wars or what is it? Why?
So they call it a bidding war, but it's not essentially a bidding war because all the bidding is blind for the most part. Usually in a typical bidding war, you're sitting in an auction or anything like that. Okay, well, I'm going to give it 100. Can I get anybody that's 120? Okay, I'm going to give this guy with 120. You know what people are bidding up against. But this is more of a blind situation where you oftentimes have to put your best and final because there will not be a second chance for you to adjust your offer.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and the thing is too, is that, a lot of houses are selling over asking. They really are at asking or over asking, but price is not necessarily, the winning factor. You know what I mean? It's the conditions that are kind of behind it. Let's say, for example, you're selling your house and you need to close by September. And all of a sudden there's an offer that comes in that's very attractive price-wise, but they want to move in early next month. Well, then that puts you at a disadvantage, right? Because now all of a sudden you have to find out where you're going to be staying, where you're going to rent, where you're going to put all that stuff. So that's not necessarily, even though the price seems pretty good, you'll look at what the other offers are going to contain for closing. Now all of a sudden somebody comes in and says, I don't know if I could do that late, but maybe a couple weeks before you guys need it. Well, then all of a sudden that's really attractive to you, as everything else kind of lines up, right? So all the other conditions that are there, make an offer strong. It's not necessarily just price. However, I mean, it's tough to pass up an extra $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 sometimes when you've never had that before, right?
That's very true. Now, I do have a question about the conditions, but we'll get into that later because this is actually a good segue into the next question here. Right. So, is the highest offer necessarily the best one for the seller?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say so. At the end of the day, we have to fulfill our duties towards our clients, our listing clients, and whatever they decide. We can objectively give our opinion, right? At the end of the day, it's the sellers to really decide what is the best for us. But I've seen things where it wasn't necessarily price. I've lost out on offers that I've put in for my clients that wasn't price related, right? So it's not necessarily just the price, even though the media and everybody says, You know, and the truth is, there's a lot of people that, you know, when you sell it for so much, then that's pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not always the case. To answer your question, it's not always the case.
Okay. So, like, you know, speaking of media here, you know, with articles like from CBC, blogTO, Maclean's, like whatever. So, Jazz and I are actually, you know, we're talking about this a lot. Like, okay, what if we want to sell? What if we want to, like, mind you, like after all the work that we've done, we are not selling our house. So, no.
I won't answer.
But if we decided to become sellers, if I was ready to become a seller, should I sell now or should we wait next year?
Well, you know, if you're thinking of an opportunity, here, hold this for a second. See, did you think that I was gonna just do that right now?
No.
So we don't have a crystal ball. You don't know what I'm going to do, right? You don't know what the market is going to do.
Yes.
Right? So you'll never be able to guarantee, should I sell right now is a lot of the questions that you have. Well, numbers don't lie. Everything else like that around, you know, what's going on in the real estate market is showing that now is a really good time to sell your property. But we don't know what's going to happen next month. We don't know what's going to happen 6 months down the road. We don't know what's going to happen a year down the road. It could be better down the road, right? But we can talk about what's happening right now.
Sure enough. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So right now is a great time to sell if you're in the capacity, you're able to sell that property. Right?
Okay. So, is it recommended, so if, okay, so let's say we actually did sell. Do we pay more for our next house? Do we pay what we got? Like,
Well, you know what? It's a good question. It depends what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? If, let's say, for example, you were thinking of downsizing, right? Then that would be a different conversation to see what's pricing around that scale. If it's farther out of town, then all of a sudden you might be able to find something that's a little bit more in relation, or maybe even a little bit less to what you would have sold your property at. So it all kind of depends, you know, what you're really looking for.
okay, okay.
Right.
Now, you did mention that you're not an economist.
No.
I know this. But why do you think Moncton and actually all of New Brunswick is hot right now?
Well, I've had this conversation with my brother-in-law and a lot of other people as well. I think that it's the pandemic really allowed for everybody to put focus on the market here, for the cost of homes out here, and really kind of expose that for being as low as it was compared to the rest of the country. And in short, in my opinion, Atlantic Canada is just catching up to the rest of Canada now, right? You take a look everywhere else. You know, you're thinking Winnipeg, Quebec, you're thinking Toronto, every bigger city, these houses, you know, you're not finding anything at 70, 80, 90, 100,000, 150,000, $180,000 homes. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
Right? So as soon as we had this opportunity to, you know, still be a vice president in the corner of the country, and still be able to quantify your work by doing, you know, from a home office. But now, you're looking out into, you know, the ocean for far less than you would in your condo in Mississauga.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty attractive.
Yeah, that's very attractive.
It's pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the conditions. So I haven't heard many buyers that are putting in conditions. Like, what kind of conditions should home buyers even put in? Is it recommended?
Well, I think that it's in your best interest, to have an inspection. I have seen a lot of, a house inspection, right? Because you want to know, like, it's a big transaction, right? The inspection is a big one. But the truth is, there's a lot of people that are feeling like they're going to strengthen their offer by, waiving an inspection condition. To each their own. I get it. You know what I mean? If you're looking at buying a $120,000 property and throwing $100,000 into a rental, well, you know what? You're probably going to find out a lot about the home as you're tearing down walls and tearing the roof down and getting rid of everything, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, we've put in quite a few dollars and we've discovered a lot of things.
Right. Right. Exactly. Right. But I absolutely stand beside inspections because I think that if you're going to be investing a lot of money into something, especially for your asset, I'd like a professional to go through the house and tell you, you know, what is an immediate concern, what can you tackle down the road, and then they end up giving you like a really great report to go through, and that report is yours, right? But you know, the conditions on these contracts, if you're selling your home and you see somebody that that doesn't put an inspection condition on there, then that's one less thing that you have to, you know, wait a certain amount of weeks for to firm up the sale of your house.
Okay, so you know, with there's a lot of real estate questions regarding inspections that I've read online. Some people are asking, is it necessary? Sorry, is it required? Is a inspection required to purchase? Does it depend on?
Depends on your bank. Depends on lending. Depends on financing.
Okay.
Right. Just because somebody says that, you know, they're offering in cash doesn't necessarily mean that it's, you know, then they'll hit you with a finance letter 2 weeks later. That's one of the things that we're finding, right?
Okay.
You know, which kind of sucks when you're in this, you know, multiple offer situation. Sometimes that'll happen. But sometimes banks require it. You know, sometimes banks require that they need an inspection on the property, right? But sometimes they don't. So.
And in your professional opinion, always get an inspection.
I would. I'm never gonna go into a place and not. You know, I mean, I can't speak for the rest. Some people are extremely comfortable with that. Some people who have moved from Ontario and Calgary and Vancouver, they're used to, you know, saying no inspection, right? But for me, for myself, for my peace of mind of me being able to sleep at night knowing that I don't have mold in the ceiling, you know, that matters.
I feel attacked.
No. Shots are not fired on that one. I didn't. You know, to be honest with you, I didn't actually know that there was mold in your ceiling now.
No, it wasn't the ceiling. So when we actually when we finished our interior renovations for the top floor, my contractor and we discovered that there was black mold on in the master bedroom.
Right.
Sorry. Primary bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So like, well, obviously we took care of that, and we're good now. We're not going to die, I don't think.
I think you should be right.
Hopefully. But yes, okay, so there. You heard it. Get an inspection. Do not cheap out. My goodness. I keep telling you guys. Get an inspection. Okay, so me being in the media in a few different articles across Canada, there's this magic word that's surrounding the Atlantic Canada real estate market right now.
Okay.
And you touched on it before.
Okay.
Bubble.
Yeah.
Is this an actual bubble? Will it burst? Or is it media wordplay to create some sort of hype? Is it a buzzword? That's what I'm going for here.
Well, you know, like I've obviously heard about that a lot, the whole bubble thing. And, you know, like any bubble will pop. You know what I mean? But is this what, or is this bubble just going to get a little bit of a puncture and just deflate a little bit before somebody patches up this bubble and all of a sudden it'll start to inflate again, right? Like, I mean, the word bubble, the word crash, the word pop, you know, in my opinion, again, I think just Atlantic Canada is getting up to speed with the rest of Canada. It might not jump. We might not see condos here. Condos here for $800,000 in downtown across, you know, we're not going to see something like that, like in Toronto. But I think that we have to be very real and realize that housing costs aren't going to be what they used to be. Will the crazy incline and crazy surge of people selling way over asking, will that taper off? It has to. Right? Because I was already talking to somebody earlier today that said that the threshold for finance to qualify for a mortgage is going up.
I heard about this.
Right.
I heard about this.
They do that. They do that to slow down, you know, the market, right? Because they don't. Everybody's getting approved by 4 point something, and all of a sudden the threshold now in the bank is 5.25, makes it harder to qualify.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is called the stress test. Is it?
Yep.
See, I'm right.
See,
I'm right. See, I'm learning things.
Learning things. It's called a stress test, right? Affordability. Okay. You know, are you going to be able to, with these inflated rates in the housing that you're trying to go for, are you going to be able to make those payments under the new interest rate? Will you ever have to pay that interest rate? I only saw that way back in Calgary, way back then when I was doing mortgages for people in the bank, right? Where mortgages were like 4.25 and that was your rate for 5 years. You know, no, the rates are much lower, as we all know, right?
Yeah.
Variable rates are pretty much next to free. You know what I mean? At 1.35, 1. Whatever it is, I've seen them, that low. But they need to make sure that you can qualify for that. You know what I mean? That you can still make the payments at 5.25, right?
Okay.
So that you don't, obviously default on your mortgage and make sure that you're able to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
It is possible to still buy a home in this market. You can still navigate through this market. A lot of the questions that I have, should I buy now or should I wait a year from now? Again, like I talked earlier, we don't have a crystal ball. But if you're offering or you're looking for a property at $220,000 right now, we can't tell what that price is going to be a year from now. Is it going to be at your max pre-approval budget? Maybe. Will it not be? And will it be maybe $20,000 more? That's a possibility too. With how things are going, especially within this next year with COVID-19, just be very, very intentional with going out there with your realtor, and you'll make the offer strong, put your best foot forward and then, keep the hope alive because, doors don't always close. Deals are still won. I got faith in everybody that wants to buy a house. If you're intentional, you get one.
So a friend of mine and we started a group, New Beginnings in NB on Facebook. And there's been a few people who are wanting to move here first and then rent.
Right.
And then see what happens and then buy.
Right.
Would you recommend that? Or is it solely based on them or?
I think so. Okay. I mean, you can't rush anybody's timeline. They'll buy when they're ready, right?
Yeah.
If they're looking and they're ready and they want to buy, the old ways of doing it. Would you ever have bought your property without seeing it the first time, sight unseen? You probably still. You know what? You probably still would.
I don't know
because you're ready to get out of it.
I was like I need to leave.
Right.
Like we need to get out of here.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the case for a lot of people, right? But a lot of homes are being sold sight unseen right now. I can't imagine doing that, but somebody else might be totally okay with doing that. Like realtors are great with their, their technology and doing all virtual tours and showing houses and things, and they're very knowledgeable. So they're opening up the electrical panel and showing people it's a 200, yada yada yada, right? But people are buying houses sight unseen. To answer your question, is it right for them to come here, rent, then look? Your prerogative entirely. Right? It's their prerogative, what they want to do. But again, the more that the time ticks by throughout the year in this market, it's going to work against them. Exactly.
Because the prices will keep.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, are they going to keep skyrocketing and in a steep incline like that? I don't know. Will it taper off a little bit? Maybe. Right? But it's their prerogative of what they want to do. If they want to come here and rent for a little bit. But unless you're renting, short-term rental, 1, 2, 3 months before you're really digging and try to find a home, you never really know what to expect during that time. So, for those people that want to come in here and rent and check it out before then, yeah, all the power to you. I'm not knocking that one bit, so you can actually walk through homes and see that. But, you kind of heard it here first, and you've even seen since you've been looking in the past, however long you've been looking, 2, 3, 6 months, 1 year in the past, things have gone up, right? Things have gone up. So the longer that you wait, the harder it's going to be to get a home, in my opinion. What I've seen, I haven't seen it yet to let up. So.
Okay, so we are gonna kill the video here. It is Sunday afternoon. I have a lot of work to do at home. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friends, or our friends, Lynn and Arvin, for lending us this beautiful backdrop of a fish tank. So thank you to them. Like the video, please share it around social media. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and hit that bell notifications so you know when I get another video up.
Right.
I will leave Mike's social media and website contact or details below, And if you want, I can do a personal introduction to this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. All right.
I'm gonna say I've been looking at your back. The back of your head is ridiculous.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, thanks guys. Take care.
Peace.
Thank you.